You're listening to Kicked Back, presented by Uber One. Uber One is a membership that lets you save across Uber Eats, Uber Rides, and everything in between. Enjoy unlimited $0 delivery fees, 5% off of Eats, 5% off of rides, and if you join Uber One today, you can get your first month free. Visit uber.com/Uber1 for details. Hope everyone's kicked back because we've got another episode here. Liam and Caroline with you. Kicked Back, presented by Uber One. What's going on, everyone? Liam, how are you?
I'm good. A lot of unexpected things happened yesterday in the Champions League. Not in like, oh, wow, that was a crazy result, but just kind of like the way things played out for some things was like, wow, that was not what I thought was going to happen.
Right. And also some crazy stats that came out. And I kind of want to start off this podcast with Carlo Ancelotti surpassing Sir Alex Ferguson for most Champions League wins of all time. I made a lot of football fans angry on social media because we've talked about it. Yeah, so I mean, God forbid a woman talks about a sport, right? And yeah, sometimes I do maybe have a little bit of a hot take, but we've touched on this podcast before how Carlo Ancelotti should be maybe respected a little bit more in a conversation of greatest of all time or current greatest manager. What are your thoughts on the situation right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of always been on the things that Sir Alex has always been the best because he did it in the best league for so long. Mm-hmm. But he makes the debate becomes a lot harder when every single time it feels like once a month Ancelotti is doing something to bolster his status in the football world. I mean, now, what is it? Most Champions League wins, that's what it was, right? That he got. So
let me ask you this. What manager has won more than Carlo Ancelotti? Like, think about that.
Yeah, like no one. No one. So it's exactly, that's the debate. I guess the only argument for me would be from like a Sir Alex Ferguson perspective is that he took them from nothing to to greatness.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's something that'll always be on his side. But with Ancelotti, like, winning pays the bills, and his bills are been getting paid for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's exactly how I feel. I respect Sir Alex Ferguson for the impact he's had and for the legacy he's created. No one's discrediting that, but Ancelotti's too frequently bypassing this conversation when he has the resume that he has. How he's been able to implement this winning style of football across Europe's top 5 leagues shows versatility. And I don't think that that's talked about enough in this conversation of greatest of all time. And I do appreciate legacy. I do think that's important. But to be able to go into different leagues, adapt to different styles of play, and win, being able to win, not just compete, but to win, warrants this conversation. And we also know he's not a manager that's driven by ego. He handles his success admirably. And at the end of the day, he just kind of lets his genius style of tactics speak for themselves. And this is also a man who's won 2 World Cups as a player. Yeah. So he understands what footballers want and need from a managerial perspective. And I just think that this is why some of the best footballers in the world also give him the highest praise. You've seen Pirlo, Ronaldo, Del Piero say that they've never been coached by a better manager. And I think that there's so much that goes into this conversation with Carlo Ancelotti that isn't looked at enough because Premier League super fans only choose to see it one way, which I appreciate. I respect that. But I also will challenge it because I think at this moment in time, Ancelotti, who's always left out of this conversation, might be at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, and he even had 31 wins in 67 games at Everton, which is proven to be quite the accomplishment at the moment.
You know what? Everyone brings up the Everton conversation. Tell me what he was supposed to do with that team, and did he not even bring them to some type of excitement?
Yeah, he did well. He did really well, but the problem with the Everton thing was he was kind of, and it was not on him, it was more the tail end of this team has spent too much money and now it's coming to bite them in the ass because it's not sustainable. Yeah. And he was I feel like he almost saw that in a way and was like, oh, there's probably not much else I can do here. And also when Real Madrid comes knocking on the door, I think anybody's going to go. So yeah, he did well there. And like, he's just always been successful. And that's the thing. Do you know what? He kind of reminds me in a sense of Brazilian Ronaldo, where when people talk about him, everyone's like, this guy is the best.
We forget.
But yeah, you almost forget how great he was. And a lot of people say that about Ronaldo. It's like, no, like this guy was special. And injuries plagued him, and that's what ruined his career. And that's how it almost feels with Ancelotti a little bit too, where it's like, you just kind of forget what this guy has achieved over his career because he's just, I don't mean it in this way, but he's bounced from club to club. He's been a lot of places, and it's almost like just kind of forgotten. It's like, oh yeah, this guy did win the Premier League with Chelsea, and he did win the Champions League with AC Milan back with Kaká and those guys, and then Bayern Munich, and then Real Madrid as well now, and PSG, and then, you know, he's a guy who's floated around, but always won.
And that's what I've been hearing from fans the most online right now, especially to my video that I made, that Sir Alex Ferguson is the greatest manager of all time that there ever will be because of the legacy, the amount of time he spent in one club. And I get that, but I also see it even in the Cristiano Ronaldo debate. He's a player who's gone to different leagues and has had success. I think that that's a conversation that needs to be had too, because it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
And that's what I'm saying. Ancelotti being able to go into La Liga, Serie A, the Premier League, and win, like, says a lot about him and the style that he plays, and also the style that he manages. So I don't know. I'm firm on this, and I swear I have bias outside of it. Like, I know that he managed at AC Milan, and that was, you know, my team when I was younger for sure. But there's something about him that I really respect and appreciate, that he's not making headlines like a Klopp or a Pep or a Mourinho, right? Like and I love the entertainment value with those managers, but Ancelotti's this humble, I'm going to call him a humble king that has success, and he handles it in a way where people, I think, don't talk about it because of how low key he is. Yeah,
he's in the spotlight, but not in the spotlight. Yeah. Like, Real Madrid is obviously the spotlight, but
I like that.
he's not the figurehead of it. Where with City and Liverpool, it feels like Klopp and Pep are the guys. Like, you see, when you think of them, they're probably two of the first people you think of. Where with Real Madrid, it's like you have Benzema, Kroos, Modric. There's so many other guys ahead of Ancelotti, which he just silently in the background, just doing his thing. Yeah. Winning is what his thing is.
And I like that, though, because when you think about it, maybe even from a player's perspective, you'd want the attention to be on the team and the style of play and the record, if hopefully they're having a winning record, not necessarily with the coach. And I think that's why these footballers love Ancelotti so much. I mean, Ronaldo, here are a couple of quotes. He goes, "I wish every player could have the opportunity to work with him because he's a fantastic guy. He's a fantastic coach. I miss him." Del Piero, who is one of the greatest players for Italy, you know, said he's the best coach of all time. Pirlo went on to say he's like a father to me. The times with him were indescribable. I think that's an element, an emotional element to the conversation that maybe when we look at stats and we look at legacy and we look at wins, we don't bring that into the conversation enough, but it is super valid and super important because so many coaches who are successful also don't have a problem throwing their players under the bus. Yeah. And then you find this situation where players don't like playing for the coach. I'm not saying every single guy loved Carlo Ancelotti when they played under him. I do think that Lewandowski openly said in an interview once that he doesn't like the way that Bayern's playing, like the system and the style. So obviously that was a low-key dig at Carlo. But at the same time, you have a high majority and, again, some of the biggest names really respecting what he's done. So I got some heat online for saying, you know, Carlo Ancelotti deserves a little bit more respect in the conversation, and it warrants a conversation. Got absolute pushback from Premier League superfans, which I get. I totally get. I would be the same way if someone, you know, tried to tell me that, I don't know, for example, Kaká wasn't one of the best attacking center mids of all time. But I think people also need to be open-minded. And as football goes on and as time goes on, the greatest of all time conversation for players and coaches might change, and people have to accept that.
Yeah, there's probably guys we haven't even mentioned, like just in other leagues in general, that have had so much success. Like, I know obviously Bayern Munich have won a lot, and yeah, there's a lot of great managers out there. I think Sir Alex is always going to be on the top of a lot of people's minds because of the team he was at, which makes him, I think, just bolsters his legacy in the for everyone's opinion. But yeah, like Ancelotti, like we said off the top, like this guy, he's the one passing Sir Alex's records now.
And when does that matter? When do these hardcore winning stats, first manager to do this, first manager to do that, when does that deserve some credibility? We can speak about legacy for the end of time, and I agree with that. But then on the other side of the coin, Ancelotti's the first manager of like 5 different conversations to ever do something. And I don't know, every single time he goes to a team, I'm like, okay, they're fine because they have one of the most experienced, likable coaches in football. And again, another conversation with pushback is that he did it with teams that are stacked. But then again, we're watching, this day and age where there are a lot of stacked teams and you don't necessarily find that it converts to success. Pep's always had a successful team. He can't win the Champions League. Mm-hmm. Can't always, look at it that way. Still takes a good manager to do something like that.
That's why I have Klopp over Pep.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think in a sense of look at everything. Like I'm not sitting here saying Klopp hasn't had money to spend. He just spent 80 million on a striker, but also not every summer the bank isn't open for a guy like Klopp at Liverpool, and he's able to. He's having to play guys like James Milner and Jordan Henderson way more than he should have to, and it's just Liverpool's team isn't as deep as City has been the last few years, and obviously this year is a bit different, but they've been able to push City to the max and get the best out of City, and I think that matters. And I think with Pep, like, he's probably one of the best tacticians this game has ever seen. Like, he's changed the game, but also...
What you would say about Pep is he might be one of the best tacticians, but he hasn't won the Champions League. He hasn't won everything he should.
Yeah, like he hasn't won it with City, and like there should be higher expectations, I think, when you're spending that much money. And Klopp has been able to do that with Liverpool, with the Champions League, won Premier League, and whatever else. And yeah, I would just like to... What puts Sir Alex over it for me is like he had success when he was at Aberdeen. He was the last manager to win... The last team to win the Scottish Premier League wasn't Celtic or Rangers, was Aberdeen with Sir Alex. So for me, that's a great accomplishment. And then you go into when United were there and they weren't great. They almost sacked him like really early on, and then he built them to such a greatness. Like now they're not even that good right now. What are they, 5th in the Premier League? And they're still regarded as like one of the top teams in the world. And that comes off the back of Sir Alex. And I think a lot of managers like who go around and win all these competitions, like Guardiola, Pep, Klopp. Guardiola and Pep are the same person. I meant Ancelotti.
I know what you mean.
And I think building a legacy over time and growing, stuff like that. And it's very hard to do that now in today's football. And I think Klopp has done that a little bit with Liverpool, where when he joined, like, they were just kind of like a team that would push for Champions League, and then he took them to greatness. He took them to that next level to win their first Premier League. And I think, in my eyes, that's what matters. Sustained success with one club is massive. And Ancelotti's done it with Real Madrid right now. Why do they have 3 in a row or whatever it is? And he's been a part of, obviously he wasn't a part of all of them, but he's done it with AC Milan when he was there for like 8 years, and he went to back-to-back Champions Leagues. Like, he's done it in his career, and that's to his credit. And I guess not even on Ancelotti. I just like seeing managers there for a while.
Yeah.
And to have the success and build a program. And Pep's done that too with City. I'm not denying that either. I
totally see that side of the conversation, because even when I think about United, I think about iconic. Like, it's an iconic football club that even if you were to go up to a non-football fan or a casual fan, they know of United, and they would probably maybe a non-football fan wouldn't know Sir Alex Ferguson's name, but they would know his face.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you think of when you think of iconic. So I understand that side of it. I think for me personally, I like to see managers and I like to see footballers not only stay in one place. I like that Messi left Barcelona, or the way it ended. I wouldn't have wanted him to stay in Barcelona forever. Sometimes these moves don't go in the player's favor. Kaká when he left Milan, Thierry Henry when he left Arsenal, it didn't go in the best direction for them. But sometimes I like to see players and managers find success in different leagues, because that means they are getting out of a comfort zone, a system, a fan base, a culture that they are so used to, and proving that they can do it anywhere in the world with any team. And I think that that's another side of the coin that's super important to talk about, because change isn't easy. Adversity isn't easy. It's a lot of pressure. And that's why I always say Cristiano Ronaldo doing it in many different leagues is a super impressive feat for me. So I feel the same way about Ancelotti. I agree. He's not married to a club. You think Fergie and you think United.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of that. It's like, when I think of Ancelotti, what team do I think of?
And I think that's what people are having a hard time with in this conversation.
Yeah, where like some of the names you mentioned there, like Gerrard. Gerrard played for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
And they'll never be remembered for that. He'll always be remembered for Liverpool. And it's like guys like that who, like Pirlo played for a bunch of teams, but I will probably always see him in an AC Milan jersey, to be honest. And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, is like when you're done playing football or whatever sport you play, like how will you be remembered? Like what will the first image of people's minds be? And for me, Ancelotti, like you said, I just can't really picture it. The only picture I can think of is when he was smoking that cigar in the Champions League.
That was the Don Carlo, man.
Yeah,
that was also iconic.
So I guess that's my iconic Ancelotti moment, is the picture of him smoking a cigar.
I agree. I'm scared of the Premier League super fans, that's for sure. But I'm strong on my stance, because sometimes I feel like things need to be challenged a little, and it's okay to think outside of the box. And I do actually think a lot of people who aren't, hardcore United or Premier League or English football fans do see other managers in that conversation. And I say that respectfully, because respect should be given to Fergie and what he's done in football culture. But I see it from another perspective as well. So I was just interested to see what you thought, because now another stats come out. And I guess maybe let's end it on this question. What would it take, if anything? Let's take legacy aside, because Ancelotti's getting old. He doesn't have 20 years.
What is he, 63 or something like that now, I think?
He doesn't have...
I got it up right here. Yeah, he is 63.
He doesn't have, okay, what is he going to be? Coaching at Real Madrid till he's 83 to surpass Ferguson in the legacy, to surpass Fergie in the legacy debate? He doesn't have that time. Hopefully he does, obviously. But if we're talking realistically as a manager, he probably won't be coaching Real Madrid for another 20 years. Would there be anything else that he could win that would make you rethink your opinion? Or no?
I think just persistent dominance in La Liga would really do it for me. Like we spoke about in the early days of this show, like Real Madrid hasn't won back-to-back La Ligas in almost 10 years, or around 10 years, whatever it is. I believe it was 2005, so whatever that is. So this year it looks like they're on track. They're in first, so I'd like to see that. Then I would like to see it again and again and again.
And a Champions League.
Champions Leagues are good and a little cherry on top, but I think just being dominant in your domestic league, and we spoke about it yesterday, where like La Liga's not really strong, and Real Madrid and Barcelona, mostly Real Madrid because they're actually a structured team right now, should be winning this trophy every single year. Yeah, and I would like to see that for Ancelotti. And I don't even know. I don't really have like a power rankings of like this guy, but I would like to see that from Ancelotti. Just sustained success with one team. And he's done it in the past, but I would just like to see it a little bit more now.
How about if Italy, after missing back-to-back World Cups, hires Ancelotti for the 2026 World Cup, and he wins the World Cup with this Italy team?
That would be special. That would be special. Yeah, that would be pretty good. I do have international managers and club managers on a different level though. But
football's so complicated.
Yeah, it is a lot going on. I pulled up a list here, and it was top 5 managers ever, top 15 managers ever, and this was made in January of this year. Okay. Ancelotti was 8th.
Yeah, man, like that's so outlandish to me.
It was. I'm going to try and say.
Tell me who are the top 7.
So Bob Paisley, who was with Liverpool for a long time and had the success with them in the 70s.
Okay, super Premier League fan.
And also won 3 European Cups and a UEFA Cup and a UEFA Super Cup. Okay. Argo Sacchi, who was with Milan for a while. Johan Cruyff from 85 to 96 to 2009 to 13. He was with Ajax and also Barcelona. Ernest Happel, who was 62 to 92 with a bunch of different teams. I won't even list them all off, like Club Brugge, Feyenoord, Hamburg. Won the Champions League with a few of them as well. Pep, 3. Rounas Michaels. They called him the architect of total football. He was with Ajax 2 in from 53 to 92 men. These guys were around for a long, long time. And, of course, number 1, Sir Alex. Mourinho was also on this list, and he was 12. Matt Busby was ahead of him.
I mean,
there's a lot of English guys on here.
And I respect the research and, the fandom for many years. I was born in 91, so I never watched a lot of these men.
I haven't heard a lot of these guys either.
So I'm going to be completely honest, but I don't know. To put him 8th? Like, okay, if he won every now and then, okay, I understand. This guy's first manager, like I said, first manager to do this and first manager to do that. I mean, I can read it off for you because I don't want to mess up these stats. Well, let me access the TikTok that blew up my account that I refuse to even look at comments anymore. But it's just...
It's a debate. It's a great debate.
It is a great debate that I probably shouldn't have touched, but here we are. And no regrets because...
You got to do what you got to do.
It is what it is. But hold on, let me get it. So, first manager to win a league title in each of Europe's top 5 divisions. First manager to win 4 Champions League finals. First manager to win 4 UEFA Super Cup finals. So, that's like a pretty heavy resume.
That's not bad.
I mean, you're hiring that guy.
If he came for a job here at the 90th minute, I'd sit him down and have a good chat about what he would bring to the table.
Could you imagine interviewing Carlo Ancelotti and being like, but what's your legacy?
Yeah. How are you going to leave this club?
We're having a hard time because we know you win so much, but what's your legacy?
Yeah, what are you going to do for us?
Imagine. He'd probably light that cigar and tell you to shove it up your...
Probably.
He's probably so nice that he probably wouldn't even say that. He'd probably tell us why. Whatever. And he's funny. Married to a Canadian woman, so... That's bonus.
Yeah,
that's cherry on top that he's cheering for us at the World Cup.
Maybe Canada. I know that's been mentioned too.
Honest to God, if that happened, I'd buy a Canada Ancelotti jersey.
Yeah.
I really would go that far.
That'd
Call me crazy. Okay, up next, we can move on. And let us know what you guys think in the comments. I'm sure you guys will say it's Sir Alex Ferguson. Hit me where it hurts. I'm ready to take it. Christine Sinclair announced that she'll be back for another season at Portland.
Oh, nice.
She's 39 years old. She'll be back for an 11th season. Yeah. And I just want to...
Speaking of legacy.
Right? Honestly, let's talk about it. Why isn't Sinclair included in the GOAT conversation? She deserves it. And trigger warning for all the little boys who are having a hard time with talking about women and football in the same conversation. But she has more international goals than Ronaldo and Messi. And I guarantee you half the male population has no idea who she is. It's a problem.
Yeah. So in England, when I was growing up, I didn't really pay attention to women's sports in general, to be honest, until the Olympics came around, and then you kind of get involved with stuff like that. But that was kind of my only opening to women's sports. When the World Cup and the Euros would come on, we would kind of get behind the girls a little bit, but it wasn't anything special. I remember some of the players, but nothing too crazy. But then I came to Canada, and then you see this was 2010 when I moved here. So maybe this was 2012 would have been London. Yeah, that was London. And that was kind of when I started to realize who Christine Sinclair was. And it's been 10 years now, and she's just been the best player on Canada for 10 years. And it was, she's such a unique style, I suppose. She just knows how to put the ball in her net. Yeah. And if that was so easy, everyone would do it. And she's just been able to do it on every stage that she gets on. And yeah, she's one of the great football players this world has ever seen. And I know the argument's always going to be the standard in women's compared to men's. And it's I get it. I totally get it. But also when you just appreciate it. Just appreciate how good she actually is and what she's done for the women's game, not only in Canada, but the world. She is such an icon, and in my eyes, she is one of the greats the sport has ever seen.
You're absolutely right. There will always be the conversation of men's football being more competitive than women's football. But at the end of the day, like you said, if scoring was easy, then everybody would be setting these records. And the fact that she holds that record on a global scale in both men's and women's football, to me, it's not talked enough about. And I look at these professional broadcasts and I'm like, why aren't they bringing her into these conversations? Because she single-handedly put respect on a women's game.
Yeah.
You know, to think about Ronaldo and Messi and the impact, the tremendous impact that they've had on our game and how much they've accomplished, to have Christine Sinclair sitting on top of them in a goal scoring record for international goals is mind blowing. So I just wanted to give her props. She's competed at 4 Olympic Games. She has 2 bronze medals, 1 gold, 5 World Cups, and she's still freaking going. Most caps for Canadian women, goals and assists. I don't know. I just like, when I was coming up in the Canadian national team program, I played for the U17 and the U20, never with the senior team. But man, that was always one of my biggest goals. For me, it would have been so iconic to be like, I met Christine Sinclair and I practiced with her.
Did you ever meet her?
No, I never did. I never did. But that to me would have been, it's crazy. Being in those camps and playing in these international games, that would have been kind of, for me, one of the bigger accomplishments is sharing the pitch with her, and that's the legacy she's created for women.
She's an icon. I guess sticking on the Canadian women topic, I believe Jessie Fleming re-signed with Chelsea the other day, so that's really good to see. I remember she's only a young player as well.
She's young.
So wasn't she the youngest Canadian to ever play? I remember whenever she made a debut, she was very young, and I remember watching that game. I was just like, oh wow, that's crazy. Like,
I wonder, and I think you're right.
17 or 18, maybe even 16.
So Cara Lang was 14 when she debuted. Do you remember Cara Lang?
I think she was 14.
She was 14. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Because when I would watch Cara Lang, I'm like, oh my God, I want to be her. So that's why she stands out. But I do know that when Jessie Fleming came into the team, they'd say she's the next Christine Sinclair, and they'd label Christine Sinclair deservingly the GOAT, and they'd label Jessie Fleming like the baby.
The neck. Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, like this, the youngest generation.
It says on December 15th, 2013, this would have been, she made her senior international debut at the age of 15 years old when she replaced Brittany Baxter in a 1-0 defeat to Chile. It doesn't say. At the time, she was the second youngest player to ever play for the national team. She is the third youngest after Olivia Smith, who took her over a few years ago in 2021, and Cara Lang is the youngest to ever play.
Crazy.
I just want to say one quick thing on the women's game, and I think this is something people always don't take into consideration of when they talk about the standard of it, and not in like a negative way. Like, standard, I think, is getting better every single year. Like, we just saw it at the Euros this past summer in England, and how well supported it was, and Wembley sold out. The men's game has been around forever, for over 100 years. It's a well-developed game, and that's why we see these great players come year after year after year. Well, with the women's game, it's only it's obviously been around for a long time, but it's only really been paid attention to on like a development scale since like the 80s, 70s, 80s, that kind of around time. So here we are 50 years later. Talk to me about what football was like on the men's side 50 years ago, because I'll tell you right now, it probably wasn't as good as it is now. It's about development, and that's what is going to help grow the women's game. And we see it in Canada all the time. I think Canada has done a really good job of progressing and giving us access to the women on an international scale. Like, now I would like to see it more with the what's it called? Sorry, the NWSL, I believe is like, we should probably see those games a bit more televised and have more access to that. And I think that's the next step. I know when I was in England, I noticed this quite a lot. Actually, they talk about their women's, I believe it's called the Women's Super League, and they talk about it in such how do I word it? In such like a natural way. Yeah. Like, it doesn't feel forced. And I know this isn't what some people have an issue with, is like they feel like women's sports is being forced upon you. And it's like, I didn't feel like that when I was watching Sky Sports News in England. It just kind of like naturally came on. They spoke about it, and then it just felt welcomed, I guess. And I think that's where we all need to kind of get to with Canadian women's sports and anything, basketball, hockey, soccer, whatever other sports we play, anything, croquet, whatever it is. Let's just gotta absorb it, and you'll realize it's good. And I'm not sitting here telling you I watch women's soccer every single week, because I quite frankly don't. But I think it's important that you embrace it, because there's a lot of talent, and Canada's winning. And it shouldn't just be every 4 years that you realize it's like, oh yeah, we do have a Canadian women's team.
And what I really have appreciated, I think, with time, is that women are getting respect with tournaments that are being put in place, coverage that's happening. I still think we're behind the times, but I do think it's better. Like, for example, when I went to the World Cup, it was in 2008, and that was the first ever junior, like U17 World Cup that was ever had.
Right.
So it was a super big deal. But now we're seeing this tournament happen regularly for the developmental kids in the program, or players in the program, to experience what that would be like to represent your country. And when I went to the World Cup, we had to fund our way to get there. That's not happening anymore.
No.
So there's money being put into it. You know, FIFA's recognizing, the potential of women's football. England did an incredible job winning that Euro Cup, and I'm really looking forward to watching Canada at this next World Cup. And I wonder, what that's going to mean for Christine Sinclair, the most iconic female footballer, I would say, in the entire game. After the fact, like, will that be her last World Cup? Is she able to win that World Cup? Because I feel like that might be the only thing missing in her accomplishments.
Now that she has the Olympic medal.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably got to be a big goal for hers, But I think people need to welcome the fact that women play sports, women talk about sports, women are able to commentate on sports, they have knowledge and they have a skill set. And we have lived in a time where it's been predominantly men. And I think that's why when women are introduced into these roles, there's friction, because people aren't used to it.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden they say, oh, this is being shoved down our throat because a female's commentating the game. No, it's not. She's just really good at what she does.
It's earned. It's an earned.
Yep.
I don't want to say reward, because that's
opportunity.
Opportunity. That's what kind of I was looking for. Like, people don't just get these jobs because they're like, oh, she's a woman, or oh, he's a African American man. Like, people get these jobs because they're good at them and they deserve them. And the first time I heard a women commentator, I was like, oh, it catches your ear, because it's like, oh, that was unexpected, I guess, because you're so used to the men and everything. And I guess this is a deep conversation we're getting down, but
I love
it's just quite frankly, don't care. Like, just don't let it bother you. Like, it's just the sport is growing, and it's growing in a very positive way, and just give it a watch. Like, I know on you can get on the streaming services now, you can watch the Women's Champions League. And it's good. It's good to see the exposure in that sense. And now I would just like to see it on my regular TV viewing, and and I let people watch it if they want to watch it. Like, everyone should be free to do so.
So speaking of, and we can end it here. Canada plays. So there's the World Cup coming up next summer, and they announced the group games. So it'll be Canada and Nigeria, Canada and Ireland, and Canada Australia. And I believe the World Cup will be in Australia/New Zealand. Yeah. So we'll have to. We'll have to go. Well, yeah, absolutely. We're going. But I think that it'd be cool to cover those games. Yeah, kind of the same way we're doing for the men's. We should.
100%. 100% we should, and we'll do a good job of trying to represent what's going on there and the progression of everything that's going on. And, hey, maybe we'll get some of the women's, like we got Alistair Johnston on to talk about what's going to happen heading into that World Cup. The Australia game will be a really good one. They've always had a good program, and I think that's with the women's, like, a lot of the teams, I think, well, obviously the US has been great for a long time. Germany's a really good program. Canada, Australia, I believe.
Sweden. I'd even say Sweden in there.
Sweden. Spain, I think, is now coming along too. And it's great to see. It's great to see the development. And if you look through the men's history of the World Cup, you look back however long ago, I guarantee there was a team who was like, this was their first World Cup, and now they've been to this many more, and now they're actually a presence in the football men's world. And that's what we're seeing with the women's as well. Like, I don't think Spain have been great for that long, but Barcelona have a really good women's team, so that helps. France is another really good team because they have Lyon, who are a really good French women's team. And yeah, it's good. And it's even like yesterday we spoke about Graham Potter and how he started with the Ghanaian women's team. Like, It's good to see good footballing minds, whoever you are, just be involved with the game at whatever level and progressing through it. I don't think it'll be long before we see a woman manage a men's team at a relatively high level. Like, we don't see it much in North American hockey, but there was North American sports, but there was the lady who worked with the San Antonio Spurs for a long time, Becky Harmon, I believe her name was. And she was with San Antonio under Greg Popovich. She was one of the best basketball coaches ever.
Legend.
Absolute legend. And hilarious man, too.
Ancelotti's still better. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
And he was he brought her in, and this was must have been like 8 years ago or something like that, brought her in, and now she has taken that knowledge, and now she manages a team in the WNBA and just won the WNBA. Yeah. I think it was Vegas. And yeah, like, that's the point of it all, right? It shouldn't be men and women's. It's like it's the same sport. The ball still bounces, the puck still flies, the ball still flies when you kick it. Like, it's the same sport. Just there you go. That's my
preach, Liam.
That's my rant.
you bring up Potter. Also, John Herdman was the head for the women's, and also I'm pretty sure that when I went to New Zealand to play in that World Cup, he was the head coach of the New Zealand women's national team.
That's how we started.
And that was our first game of the World Cup. We played New Zealand.
Oh,
so,
he was the manager of the U17.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. If I ever met him and I ever talked to him, it would be the first question I asked him, and I'd be like, "Do you remember me?" Yeah. Because he was. It says here Herdman was the head coach for the New Zealand women's national team from 2006 and 2011. I have a feeling he was there. If not, he was in the program. So that's something I would ask him. But again, another coach who started in the women's league and then went on to be a really good coach right now for the men's.
He said he worked at the U20 level, so I wonder
if he was in and out. I wonder if he was in and out. I wonder.
Yeah. I can't imagine it was a big staff. Yeah. So
I don't remember. Like I always say, I don't remember what I did last week. I can't possibly imagine what 2008 was like. But I would ask him. Okay, quickly, because I know Liam's on a time crunch today. We'll end with this. Benfica win the group over PSG, which is crazy. Like, what an insane scenario. Everything that's happening in Champions League this season is freaking wild.
Yeah.
And now what's crazy is PSG could face Bayern, Chelsea, Real Madrid, or City in the round of 16. Holy crap.
Baloney.
Yeah.
That's why we love it.
I agree. Liam, are you still I want you to stand firm on your take that PSG is going to win it all. But do you still think so?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're still great. But this, I guess my point of it would be is this is why every single group stage game is important. You can't take a night off because Benfica's 2 draws and PSG's 2 draws were against each other. And now here we are with Benfica top of the group, and now PSG. We talked about it quickly at the top, but who are the teams they can play?
So I saw in a tweet Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Real Madrid, or Manchester City. Really bad teams.
Yeah. That's going to be super easy for them. The point, you got to make it easy for yourself, and they've simply not. However, if you're able to knock off a team that great right in the last 16, one, it makes it easier because you're missing one more great team in the tournament. And 2, it probably gives you momentum being we just beat City or Real Madrid, whoever it was, and who's really going to be better than them? We are the best team in this tournament right now. And that's kind of, if I was the manager, I'm sure that's what they're doing. But that's the mentality I would try and bring to my team is if you win this game against whoever they get drawn against, which is on Monday, you're now the best.
Yeah.
You are the best team left.
Well, they have a massive opportunity right now to prove everyone wrong, me included, because I've always said that this is a team that has the most credible attack, but I wonder what their defensive game is like in a match against a team like Real Madrid, City, or even Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich is killing it in the Champions League. So now they have the opportunity that if they were to go into the round of 16 and face one of these teams and win, first of all, it would shut everyone up. And second of all, I agree with you. If they're able to win that game in the round of 16, I do think that they're a team that can go on and win the entire thing.
100%.
My question is, though, do Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi win the game for PSG in a game against a top tier club, and can that back line handle a guy like Haaland, the talent that's on Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, their whole freaking team.
Yeah.
I really wonder, but it would be the biggest treat to see this in the round of 16.
That is the biggest difference between PSG and the other great teams is defensively they're just not not great. Where attacking, they arguably are the best.
I agree.
And you got to have that balance, and maybe you just got to get greasy. Maybe you got to get greasy with Ramos and see what you can do. Bring out his inner demons and take it out on Benzema or Haaland, whoever it is. And then, who knows? Maybe they get Tottenham. Maybe they got Tottenham, and that would be a different tale in itself. But for now, like I want them to get one of the best. I want to see the best on best. That's what I love about Champions League.
I feel like I was yesterday because when I was writing our outline of the show, I'm like, PSG for me, I think is Tottenham for you when we were talking about it on our last episode where you're like Tottenham has to win the big games. I'm like that with PSG.
Yeah.
So if Tottenham and PSG played each other, I feel like it would be...
Two worlds colliding.
Yeah.
Well, it would be... I think PSG would have to win that game.
Oh my god! Well,
they would be that the Tottenham team couldn't go into that game thinking with the mentality they have of like, well, we don't need possession. It's like, what are you gonna do? Just let Mbappe run around you all day and Neymar and Messi? Like that'd be such a tough order. Like Tottenham don't have a good enough team to compete in the Champions League. I'll be honest. Like there's too many. There's not enough, and it was Heung-min Son has an injury now or something.
So sad.
Like that's crazy. So they're gonna struggle. Is there one outside of? I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. Sorry, but outside of the PSG getting whoever, is there a draw you would like to see in this Champions League group? Mine personally would be Liverpool Bayern Munich.
I mean, that would
just be great. Like two of the giants of Europe going head to head. Like who would you like to see Milan play? Tottenham?
I was just about to say Tottenham because I do think that they are extremely underrated. I'm going to look at I need to see all the teams.
So the group winners were Napoli, Porto, Bayern Munich, Tottenham, Chelsea, Real Madrid, City, and Benfica. See, Benfica, they're a sleeper team for me. Same with Napoli and Porto. Like I feel like all three of those teams are very strong in their own sense and can cause some troubles. But the one I'm looking at that would be juicy would be the Bayern Munich, Liverpool. Or do you know what? Maybe even Bayern Munich and AC Milan would be great too.
I would not want that for AC Milan personally. So if AC Milan, like from an AC Milan perspective, Tottenham would probably... I'd want Tottenham over Porto, personally.
Yeah, mine too.
If I'm thinking of a dream round of 16, I want PSG, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I would love that.
That's like a final.
That is a final to me, because you just think about the players that would be on that field.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be an iconic Champions League matchup.
Think about everyone that Real Madrid has, midfielders included, attackers included, defenders, coach, and then PSG, the attack that they have.
Yeah, Donnarumma as well in goal.
Yeah.
Like they've got Hakimi. There's so many guys, many iconic players. Yeah, that'd be special.
That would be special. I'm trying to look. Liverpool. If I wanted Liverpool to take on a team. I agree with you. Liverpool, Bayern Munich would be, I think...
Be fun. I think Liverpool will get up to it. There's also the Sadio Mane aspect to it as well.
True.
The return, which...
that would be sick. That storyline in itself.
That'd be cool. That's why I was kind of thinking of is just like storylines and like where they would go. Like we obviously saw Lewandowski go back to Bayern. Haaland went back to Dortmund as well. And yeah, maybe I'm missing some, but that to me, that would be a big one of... Bayern Munich, Liverpool, just because of the Mane thing in there, and obviously, and just the legacy of both clubs. They're both great teams, but I think we'll get a good matchup in every single one. Like I
agree.
There's just a lot of promise on every single team, We obviously have the Canadian factors with Club Brugge and Porto, and obviously Davies with Bayern as well. So it's Champions League shaping up well. It's been a fun one, and I'm kind of sticking by my point as well, where I do think this could be an interesting one where we see some random team get to the semi-final. Like I'm sticking with my PSG, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw just someone unexpected get there. Like I said, Napoli before the season started, so maybe I'll stick with my guns on that one. I mean, it doesn't sound too
at this
uncommon
point,
now.
I
agree.
agree.
They're good, but there's I could see something shaping out for someone.
Another match I wouldn't mind quickly: Frankfurt and Real Madrid. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Super Cup final replay.
Rematch,
I wouldn't mind that at all. Okay, we'll end the episode, but quickly before we go, I have to give Giroud massive shout out because that guy scored 2 goals and had an assist against Salzburg.
Right.
And he's 36 years old. Like, we want to talk about guys who are kind of still performing in the later years of their career. AC Milan are apparently in the talks of like negotiating another contract with him because they're so impressed with his performance. Like, he was such a key to AC Milan winning the Scudetto. He's been such a key in this Champions League group stage. And what I really respect about this guy is he always shows up to the big games and he has memorable moments. Like, we're left talking about Giroud right now because he helped AC Milan qualify to the round of 16 for the first time in 9 years.
Well, he was a big part of France winning the World Cup too. And like he's one of those players who I think, what does that saying the kids say? It's the streets all remember. I believe that's what it is.
You know more than me. I was about to say what? No cap? That's all I know.
I heard someone say mid the other day.
Yeah, people say mid a lot.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
I'm only 26, but I feel like I'm 100 sometimes.
Imagine turning 31.
Kids talk nowadays.
I have no idea.
But yeah, he'll be one of those players the streets never forget, which I believe means that people just always remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. We have a little bit of time, sorry. I just wanted to talk about the Europa League quickly.
The fact that we have Thursday night movie nights.
Oh, there's so many great teams coming down, but also in the Europa League right now. So the way it kind of works is I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the top seeded teams get a bye past one round, and then they go past the next because the second seeded teams will play the teams from the Champions League. So just looking through here today, Arsenal, if they win their group today, they'll get that bye. So they play Zurich, who are not having a great season in Switzerland, but they lost last week to PSV, which would have secured their spot in the first round bye. So they have PSV, if they win, they play Bordeaux Glimt, who have been a really good team actually in Europe the last few years. There's a lot of other things. Fenerbahce and Rennes are going at it for top spot in Group B. And Group C is one I wanted to inquire on quickly. So Rome won.
Yeah, what's up with them? I'm just looking at that right now.
Yeah, so they won the Conference League last year.
Right, I remember that.
They're currently in third in their Group C with Real Betis, Razgrad, Rome, and HJK. So HJK are down. They only have 1 point. So today Rome play Razgrad in Rome. The winner of that group progresses to the next round of the Europa League. Big game.
Huge.
Big game. So that one starts at 2 o'clock Mountain Time if you're looking for one. It's just the thing I love about the Europa League, and we don't talk about it a lot on the show because there's been so much happening in the Champions League. It's hard to get to. But just the competitiveness of it. And every single group, there's consequences somewhere. And I think like a lot of people don't like that Champions League teams get another chance at Europe with falling down if they finish third in the group, which I don't mind it. I think it adds just a little bit more, and we get to see more matchups in the Europa League, quite frankly. And so I just love the competitiveness of it, like I was saying. So right now in Group C too, which is another big one, which gets going there in 20 minutes. So the podcast might be out by then or whatever. They might have already watched the game. I don't know. Real Sociedad and Manchester United. Whoever wins that game wins the group. So Real Sociedad are currently first with 15 points, plus 9 goal difference, conceded 1 goal in 5 games, scored 10. Then you have Manchester United with 12 points in second with a plus 6. So United need to win that game, first of all, by at least 3 goals. And it's a way to avoid getting second in the group.
Man, so I'm going to drive home quickly.
It's going to be a tough one, but that'll be a really good one. But then we could see a Juventus, Manchester United, perhaps, or like this. Or I can't remember who else.
People were also saying like United and Barcelona, like
Barcelona. Yeah,
there's just the Europa League, and I know that you shouldn't watch things solely on the teams and that are in it, but when you look at how stacked the Europa League is, Arsenal, Juve, United, Barca, Ajax, Roma, like. We're like, I know Halloween's over, but my gosh, this is like your all-star candy in the bag that you picked up.
Yeah, and then to bring it back to Canada, our boy Borjan.
Nice.
So Red Star Belgrade, currently 4th in Group H. However, they have 6 points, and Monaco in 2nd have 7 points. So if they win, they can fly right up and qualify as long as Trabzon don't win as well. Either way, if they win, they'll guarantee some kind of European football continuing forward. It's in Monaco, and Borjan is playing. So, could be a big moment for him. We'll see how that one goes. And then, yeah, just a fun tournament. I like it a lot. And Europa Conference League is a fun one, too. I haven't paid much attention to this, like tons, because that's a lot of football on a Thursday. You know, you have all the Europa League and then all the Conference League too. Like
and
most
full-time work.
Yeah, and then most of the time you're just kind of looking at the scores, being like, "Wow, like West Ham beat who?" And then all this other stuff. So there's a lot of good football going on. Quickly, one team I wanted to talk about was FC Vaduz. I believe that's how you say it. Sorry if it's wrong. So they're from Liechtenstein. They're the first team from Liechtenstein to ever qualify for European football.
Love it.
They're doing okay. I shouldn't say they're not doing great. They have 2 points in 5 games, but they play in Switzerland's 2nd division.
Okay.
So the reason that it's like Liechtenstein is a very small country, they don't have enough to have their own league. So teams play in different leagues around the world. And yeah, they qualified by winning the Liechtenstein Cup.
Okay.
Made it through all the way through qualifying, got to the Conference League. They're doing well. They're in a tough group. AZ Alkmaar, Dnipro is a Ukrainian team people might remember. They went to the Europa League final, maybe I can't remember, but they lost to Rangers and then they folded.
Damn.
They had to fold because they just ran out of money. And now they're back, and now they've got back to that. And then there's another team I'm not even going to try and pronounce. I believe that's Cyprus team, yeah. But anyway, they made it, and their stadium is only like 3,000.
I love these stories.
Oh, it's crazy.
These are the feel-good stories.
It's really good to see. So this is why like people say like, and I was one of these people. We don't need another European competition, but then you see this stuff happen where it's like these fans are like getting these they're getting to go to Holland to see AZ Alkmaar, and they're a big European club and have been in the past, and it's just that's what European football is about, and that's what these competitions are about. So it's just good to see different teams have success.
And these small clubs get the opportunity.
And the money.
Right? Yeah. The money for the fan base, for the players, for the managers, like they come from somewhere small, and they should be able to be given that opportunity to build that club.
Yeah.
So I love it. And I love those stories. I especially love the stories where it's like only 3,000 people fit in their stadium.
Yeah.
When the sidebar hockey with the Arizona Coyotes, I know what's going on there is crazy, but I personally, like when I saw that on TV, I was like, I would embrace that as a fan.
It's
like
cool.
I know it's not like the most glamorous thing, and you know a lot of people kind of crap on the Coyotes, but I'm like, if I were a fan, I'd personally be like, this is what's going on. We're going to rep it hard. And like, let's have the most iconic run that we can possibly have, and it be associated to this arena that we're in.
It's, you got to make your home a home.
And those to me are the best stories.
Yeah, they're fun ones. And even like last year, just to close out on the Conference League, if Feyenoord lost 1-0 to Rome in the final. If Feyenoord had won that competition, they would have been the first team ever to win, obviously because it was the first time, but the Champions League, the Europa League / UEFA Cup, and then also the Conference League, which is a great accomplishment to have. Like, you are the only team ever to do that. Like, tons of teams have won the UEFA Cup, Europa League, and the Champions League in the past. So, yeah, just cool stuff like that. And it's Conference League, when it gets to the next round, like, there's a lot of good matchups to look forward to. Like, you know, the Final Four last year was Leicester, Rome, Feyenoord, and Marseille.
Yeah.
You know, it's
always
it's
mess
fun. It's a fun one.
I always mess up the way I say Marseille. I always
That's
say
okay.
Marseille.
I mess up every single name.
Marseille.
I say.
I don't know.
So-
Sometimes I have a hard time, and sometimes even with Kroos, and sometimes I say Kroos or Kroos. I mess that one up a lot. By the way, before we hop off, he's not going to the World Cup. Tony Kroos, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, Kroos.
Well, this
Kroos.
is breaking news.
Yeah, he's not.
Is he injured? He didn't make that team.
Okay, let me read you the quote because I was reading this morning. I had to screenshot this. He said, "I won't be at the World Cup, but I'm sure that when I watch Germany's games, I will want to play. There are now players who deserve to play more, and I didn't want the time to come when they told me that it's better for you to leave." I wonder if there's drama, if there's politics, but man, this guy's playing top football right now.
Oh, it says he retired from international football. That's a shame. After England knocked him out.
But major L for Germany.
Yeah, you got to give him a call at least. I mean, hey man,
can you come back for 4 weeks?
I always remember Paul Scholes retired from international football with England, way too early than he should have. And I watched this interview with him the other day, and he was with Gary Neville, and it's called Overlap. If anyone wants to watch it, Gary Neville interviews all his former teammates and other guys too, like Van Dijk. He just did one. It's really good, and he said in-depth look of these careers, and he spoke about Paul Scholes and he asked him, he's like, "Were you ever asked to come back and play for England?" He's like, "Yeah, a couple of times. I can't remember which manager came close to getting him. It might have been Roy Hodgson." But they asked him to go to the 2010 World Cup, which was South Africa. Right? Yeah, that was South Africa. And he said, "Did you come close?" And he's like, I never spoke to Capello directly. I only spoke to his assistant managers. And if Capello had called him directly and been like, "We need you to come play, we want you to be part of it," whatever, he's like, "I would have gone." But no one ever called me. He's like, Capello never called him.
Damn.
So it just shows and I don't know what the story is with Germany and Kroos if they've called him, but yeah, a lot of these guys, I think they would go back and play if they were shown the respect by the managers to be like, "Yep, we want you to come back." But
well, Capello isn't a name that I've heard since 2010, so that's a nice
might be a
throwback.
reason
Honest to
yeah.
God, my brain just went back in time. Crazy. Well, I mean, I was shocked reading that because I'm like, this guy's still playing incredible football.
Yeah, sometimes you forget, right, that these guys retire because international football isn't happening every week, and then these big tournaments come around, and it's like, "Oh, where's this guy?" It's like, "Oh crap, yeah, he retired." One guy England need is Jamie Vardy. I would love to see him come back. He's not doing as well for Leicester this year, but he's a guy who probably should have had a few more England caps.
And Peter
on
Crouch.
his name. Peter Crouch, yes.
We're big fans.
Whoever wants to come back and help us win, just lace them up and let's go.
Right? Oh my God, you imagine that?
Get them all back. Beckham.
Just give him
Bobby Charlton goes back.
Yeah, put him in for the last 2 minutes. Honest, could you imagine?
Yeah.
They still win?
Oh man, I'd cry.
Okay. All right, guys. This has been Kicked Back. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening and watching.